This bike has seen better years. The basket is flimsy, the seat tilts left, and I have my camera bag in it anyway. There is no plan, just direction, toward whatever the villages hold this morning. What I'm looking for, I couldn't tell you exactly. I just know it when I see it. A photographer always does. The funny thing about travel is that most of us spend months planning it. Flights, hotels, maps, lists of places we think we should see. And every once in a while, the best day happens because you ignored all of it. No destination, no expectation, just enough curiosity to keep pedaling. The older I get, the more I trust that process. Not only in photography, in life. Within 15 minutes of the hotel, the road changes. Rice is drying on the road itself, on tarps spread across the road. People are moving slowly along the rows, raking the grain with wide arcs to turn it, to spread it, to dry it evenly on both sides. I slow the bike and ride around the edge of the nearest tarp. They don't look up. Water buffalo move through standing water in the distance, slow and fully unbothered. This is not a scene I arranged. I didn't scout it. The light was already here, doing its work without me. The light here doesn't perform for you. It arrives quickly. It moves, and if you're present, you catch it. I'm shooting at this point with whatever the scene demands. Wide open for the buffalo in the distance. Stop down for the rice fields where I want sharpness from the foreground all the way to the back tree line. This is not a technical decision. It's seeing first, then responding. There's a difference. I almost ride past it, a small open-sided place, a patio, a family-run cafe with children helping in the morning tasks. Smells from the kitchen drifting sideways in the morning air. The breakfast she brings me is eggs on toast with fresh vegetables. Simple, deliberate. The kind of plate that knows exactly what it is. Coffee comes in a small glass. Coconut cream settling through the dark. I don't stir it immediately. I watch it. Sitting in this cafe with no one else around, the rice fields on both sides of the road, a breakfast I didn't plan for, in a place that I didn't know existed an hour ago. This is what the camera has always been for me. Not equipment, not the portfolio, the reason to go somewhere. When people ask why I travel, I often assume it's about photographs. The photographs matter, of course they do. The photographs are usually the evidence I was there. The real reason is moments like this. Sitting at a table I didn't know existed yesterday. Drinking coffee beside fields I never planned to visit. Watching the morning unfold exactly as it would have, whether I arrived or not. The camera simply gives me permission to pay attention. On the ride back, the road opens into a market. Not the kind of market built for visitors, the kind that exists because people need things. Fresh vegetables, herbs, handmade goods, a few trinkets, and small local wares laid out between food stalls. The vendors are talking amongst themselves. Nobody is selling to me, and nobody's performing for me. And I walk the bike slowly through it. When you're in a market like this with a camera, the instinct is to document everything. Frame fast, get the shot before it changes, but the restraint matters here as much as the composition. Watch first. Stay long enough that you stop being a stranger in the frame. The images that come after that patience are always the more honest than the images taken in the first 5 minutes. Earn your presence before you photograph it. Further up the street, I see smoke before I see the man. He's cooking whole chickens inside bamboo tubes over an open fire. This is not a restaurant, not a food stall in a Western sense. It is a man, a fire, and a method passed to him from somewhere further back than I can trace. I ask permission with my eyes. He nods, and I photograph. I drop the bike back at the hotel. The rest of the morning I do on foot. The temples along the road are working temples. Incense burning, offerings laid out, people moving through the space with the ease of routine so deep it has become something else entirely. The light inside a working temple is everything a photographer loves and everything that fights back. It's directional. I shoot towards the light source to protect the highlights. That afternoon, Lucky finds me. Or rather, I find Lucky the way you find certain people when you are alone in a foreign place and paying attention. He has a scooter. He has a quiet way about him, that suggests he has shown people around this area before and doesn't need to oversell it. He asks if I want to see the villages the tourists don't find, and I say yes, without asking how long it takes. There's a version of travel that requires an itinerary, and then there's this. We decide to leave the next morning. We go to the pottery village first. A husband and wife working in a small shop along the road. They see me walking slowly and wave me in. They would like to show me the pottery making process. There is no electricity. The wheel is on the ground. Not raised on a stand the way we've seen it done before. It's sitting directly on the floor. And the man, her husband, kicks the base of the wheel with his bare foot to spin it. A steady rhythm. She is crouched by the clay and creating works of art in a matter of seconds. His foot keeps moving. Her hands shape what it becomes. Every pot this woman has ever made, her husband is powered with his body. No motor, no electricity, just the bare foot on the ground and her hands on the clay. That's the whole system. I find myself watching his foot almost as much as her hands, because it would be easy to look at the finished piece and admire the craftsmanship. What's harder to see is the partnership. One person keeps the wheel moving. The other shapes what emerges from it. Neither can do their part without the other. And standing there, watching the rhythm repeat itself, it feels less like manufacturing and more like a conversation that's been going on for a long time. I want to talk to you about how to photograph a scene like that, because the instinct in a low-light workshop is to raise the ISO and shoot fast, get the action, get the hands. But what made the scene was not the action, it was the texture, the wet clay catching the light, the ridges her fingers left in the surface. Raking light reveals texture, light arriving parallel to the surface, not straight at it. That angle is what creates dimension, what makes the ridge of her fingerprint visible, what turns a flat surface into something you can almost feel. In that shop, the open doorway was the only light source. I kept it to my side, not behind me, let the light skim across the clay, and that's where the image lived. Lucky and I stopped for coffee. He's a young man, patient in a way that certain people in Southeast Asia are patient, not passive, present, as though the moment he is in is the only moment currently happening. We talk about his family. We talk about the schools his children are in. We talk about the places that are changing and the places that are not. He tells me about Kam Kim Island, a short scooter ride away. It's an artisan island. The mat weavers are there. The pearl inlay workshop is there. Carpenters and boat repair. I don't know it yet, but these artisans are going to stay with me for reasons I cannot fully articulate. Once again, two people are working together. They make mats. They are functional objects, woven from colored grass in patterns that carry regional identity. The speed and precision of their hands is the kind of thing a camera can record but cannot fully explain. I'm not documenting a craft. I'm watching two people move together, make something new exist. The Pearl Inlay Workshop is just a few minutes further into the island. The man who meets us there is around 55 years old. His hands are the first thing I notice, the kind of hands that tell you that the work came before you did. He shows me the process, mother of pearl cut into shapes smaller than my fingernail and fitted into grooves of dark lacquered wood. The precision this requires is extraordinary. These patterns these pieces form across the wood takes years to learn and a particular kind of patience. This practice has been in his family for 3 generations. We ask about his son. There's a pause before he answers. His son has moved to Saigon. He says it without bitterness and without drama, as a fact, the way you state something when you've already finished grieving it, where acceptance lives. His son is building something in Saigon, and that's good. That is right. The city calls the young, and it always has. But the pattern work on his art, the technique for fitting mother of pearl into wood at this level of precision, that knowledge lives in one man's hands now. Just one man. I look around the workshop. The tools are worn in places where his hands have touched them 1,000 times. The workbench carries scratches older than some of the visitors who pass through here. Nothing feels preserved for display. Everything feels used, necessary, alive. And that may be what hits me the hardest. Not that the craft could disappear one day, but every generation assumes there will be another generation after them, until there's not. The smell of the workshop stays with me. Wood dust, lacquer, the faint mineral scent of shell being shaped by hand. It's the smell of work that has been repeated so many times it no longer needs explaining. I wonder how many mornings have begun exactly like this one. How many art pieces, how many patterns, how many pieces of shell fit into place while the world outside changed around him, and how quietly a tradition can disappear. I think about what it means to be the last person who knows something. I think about it in the way I think about light. A moment that will never exist again, and the question of whether someone is present enough to catch it. Not every image we make is art, but every image we make is a record. The mat weavers in full motion, the wet clay turning on a wheel, the hands of a man who learned from his father, who learned from his father. These images don't need to be technically perfect to matter. They need to be present. Your camera is not only a creative tool, it's a witness. We should take that seriously. The ride back feels different. Nothing around me has changed. The same roads, the same rice fields, the same boats sitting in the same water they occupied this morning. But that's the thing about paying attention. You leave carrying more than you arrived with. Lucky drives without saying much, and neither do I. Some experiences arrive fully formed. Others need distance before they reveal what they meant. This feels like the second kind. The smells of these workshops still linger in my clothes faintly. Wood dust, lacquer, smoke from the pottery kiln, the scent of clay drying in the warm air. This smell is the smell of people making things with their hands because that's how they've always been made. On the ride back, I think about the artisan's son in Saigon. I think about the husband spinning the pottery wheel with his bare foot. The mat weavers moving so quickly their hands seem to disconnect from time. The market vendors who never once tried to sell me anything. The woman who served me breakfast beside the rice fields. Every one of them is part of the same story. A story about work, about continuity, about ordinary lives that quietly hold communities together, and about how quickly we forget to notice them. Travel brochures never tell you this. They show destinations. What stays with me are the people. Not because they were extraordinary, but because they were not. Because they were living their lives while I happened to pass through them, and for a brief moment, I was allowed to witness it. Lucky drops me back at the hotel. The light drops out of the afternoon, and we shake hands. He disappears back into the flow of scooters and bicycles in everyday life. I stand outside of the hotel for a moment with the camera bag and the feeling that I've been shown something. The photographs will eventually be edited. The memory cards will be backed up. The files will end up in folders with dates and location names. Years from now, I may not remember every frame I made. I may not remember the exact settings or the lens I mounted on the particular moment. But what I will remember years from now is something much smaller. The sound of a pottery wheel turning, the rhythm of a loom, the scrape of a shell against wood in the workshop. The smell of smoke from the bamboo chicken fire drifting across the road. The coconut coffee settling slowly into itself while the rice field sat silent beyond the table. The things that survive inside a photograph are rarely the things we expect to remember. Sometimes the photograph is not the memory. It's just the doorway back to it. Maybe that's why I still carry a camera after all these years. Not because I'm afraid of forgetting, because I know I will. The camera gives me a way back. A trail of breadcrumbs through places and moments that mattered before I knew they mattered. What nobody photographs in the villages around Hoi An is not hidden. It's right there in front of you. The work, the patience, the repetition, the traditions carried forward, one ordinary day at a time. You only have to slow down long enough to see them. If you travel with a camera, travel like this when you can. Not with lists of shots, not with coordinates loaded into your phone. Ride away from what you know. Accept the invitation of the person standing next to you. Follow the road that goes through the rice fields rather than the tourist destinations. The images you make there will not always be your most technically correct images, but they will be the ones you keep. The light I think about most from those 2 days is not the golden hour. It's the man in the pearl inlay workshop, the mat makers, the pottery creators, the hands in the moment of creation, just working. In 2 days of riding through the villages outside of Hoi An, I was waved into workshops, pointed down roads I would have never found on my own, handed coffee at a table with a view of a rice field that a travel magazine would pay to have a photograph of, and shown the inside of a family craft that may not survive another decade, by people who owed me nothing. The people of Vietnam are the most kind-hearted, hard-working, and quietly generous people I've encountered in 20 years of traveling with a camera. This is not a conclusion drawn from 2 days on the back of a scooter. It's a pattern I've watched confirm itself every day I've spent here. Lucky didn't take me to those villages because it was a transaction. He took me because he wanted me to see them. The couple at the pottery wheel didn't stop their work to welcome me because it was good for business. They stopped because it was how they moved through the world. And I call some of those people friends now, and that's not a word I use loosely. All the edit work in this episode, the shadow recovery inside the temple, the texture in the clay, the way the mother of pearl holds its light against the dark lacquer, that was done in DxO Photolab. I use it across everything you've seen here. If you want to try it, there's a link in the description. There's a code, Steve Austin, for 15% off. If you're building your own landscape photography and want a place to start, I've put together an ebook on 10 things that professional landscape photographers do that most people spend years figuring out on their own. It covers how I see before I raise the camera, how I respond to light that I didn't plan for, and the habits that separate a photograph made with intention from one that isn't. It's in the description. There's a link below. If this kind of work is what you are looking for, subscribe to the channel. There's more coming from Vietnam, more from the Okanagan, more from wherever this road takes me. If something in this episode stayed with you, hit the like button. It helps people find the work, and the work's worth finding. Leave a comment, tell me where you are in your journey, in photography or in life. I read every one of them. The light doesn't wait, and neither should we.